Good morning, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We have a great session coming up around marketing, kind of advocacy marketing, influencer versus celebrity marketing. My name is Simon. I look after the marketing at Spotler, and if you ever come across me in real life, you'll know that you can bribe me with chocolates and cider. You'll also know that I like trying new things within marketing and trying different things. And this topic is really interesting to me because it's one that we're looking to take more advantage of within the marketing realm in a B2B context. Obviously, it's relevant for B2C marketers as well. You also, obviously, it's not me talking about today. We've got the lovely Avneet on, and she'll be doing the main session. So Avneet, I will let her introduce herself because I will do her a disservice otherwise. But she is a brand strategist, previously a brand manager at Ellis Farm Distillery for Dutch Barn Vodka, which this webinar is going to be based around. So it's going to be a very interesting one around that celebrity versus influencer part of trying to get people to pay attention to one's brand. A little bit of housekeeping. So we approximately 45 minutes. There is a question and answer facility that you've got within in the chat. So please submit your questions throughout. I will keep an eye on them and I will collate them for the end, where I'll have a bit of a Q&A with Avneet and we'll go through any questions that you had. Don't feel you've got to make notes of anything either. So we will record this session and you will get a copy of the slides. So you don't feel like you've got to scribble everything down, just take down the pertinent things and we'll send you out a recording afterwards. Before we start though, I thought we'd just tell you a little bit about Spotler, because we will have customers on this webinar. We'll also have non-customers. Spotler is a marketing automation platform, European-wide. We've got offices in The Hague, in the Netherlands, Guildford, where I am at the moment, in the UK. We've also got in Germany, in Berlin, and we've got presences in the Nordics, in Sweden and in Spain. Thousands of users, thousands of customers, and billions of messages sent every year throughout the Spotler platform across all of the products. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make our marketers, empower them with the tools they need and deserve to make an impact. And what that generally means in my language, to try and simplify it, is hopefully our tools either help you save money or make money. So whether you're in the B2B world and you're trying to generate more MQLs, you're trying to see whether return on investment is coming, or if you're in the e-commerce world and you're trying to get people to do second purchase, cart abandonments, predictive modeling, RFM frequency, also return on investment and so forth. We try and help you save that money by not sending unnecessary messages, or make that money by sending the right message at the right time to the right person. So that means over the product suite that we've got a CDP, a customer data platform, a site search, chatbots. We've got a connect tool that integrates everything together. Obviously, for B2B, we've got CRM, we've got a lead product, emails, events, obviously a number of things. The one that I just wanted to bring our attention to, because it relates to today, is we've got an engaged product, or a Spotler Social, where we've got social syndication, we've got an advocacy tool, and we've also got a messaging platform with WhatsApp and so forth. So I'll come to a little bit about that later, but it gives you a good flavour on Spotler and what they do, and obviously how the products look, a little snapshot. We're also not just a SaaS platform. We like to offer support. We've got UK support, account management to try and help you get the best out of the product. Obviously, emails still being a big part, but there's SMS, there's website personalization and so forth. But we do have a deliverability team, and just for the customers that don't have the resource or the time, we do have a professional services as well. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I'm going to say very good things about us, but hopefully the reviews over Trustpilot and over G2 kind of back up some of what I'm saying along the way. So without further ado, that's Spotler. I am going to hand over to Avneet, and she's going to take us through the case study of, well, I say the case study, influencers versus celebrities regarding brand promotion. So Avneet, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start off with a slight caveat that I have a really bad cough. So if I'm coughing, I'm gone on mute, bear with. But look, I'm really excited to speak to you all today about all things celebrities and influencers. As Simon said, I will be basing this presentation on some of the lessons I've learned from my time at Dutch Barn Vodka, but also sharing a couple case studies from other influencer campaigns that I've led as well. But before we kick things off, let me first introduce myself and some of my career highlights, I suppose. I have worked with some of the world's most renowned brands, which is very surreal for me because my career has been anything but linear. It's definitely been more of a zigzag. I started out as a marketing assistant in the dental field. I then moved up to Scotland to join FMCG brand Baxter's. After that, I switched gears completely and became a sales consultant at Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. And then when the world went into lockdown, I took the opportunity to explore solopreneurship, offering social media marketing services to businesses transitioning from offline to online. During that time, I had the chance to work with brands like Boohoo, Bulgari, and several influencer-led brands, such as By Erin and Temple of Incense. As things began to open up again, I knew I wanted to return to the corporate world, mainly because I've always loved transforming brands, launching NPDs, and playing with big budgets to bring bold campaigns to life. And that led me to Müller, where I owned the Müller Corner brand and worked very closely with Rush Athletics and our Olympic brand ambassadors. I also launched the Müller's plant-based portfolio into the UK. From there, I moved to Fridge Raiders, launching the master brand campaign. And most recently, I worked with Ricky Gervais on the strategic launch of his vodka brand, Dutch Barn Vodka. And I'm also a mentor with OK Mentor. So yeah, if you ever think your career has to be very linear, I'm a prime example that just do everything and anything. Over the years, I've picked up a few awards along the way, including Product of the Year, Marketing Week Masters Award, and the Grocers New Product Award. More recently, I have gone back to life as an entrepreneur, and I suppose in true Avneet style, I didn't start just one business. I've started 3, which are all kind of random, much like my career has been as well. The first is my marketing consultancy, where I work with brands looking to reposition themselves with bold strategic campaigns. I've helped influencers-led startup businesses consistently hit £80,000 a month and land retailer partnerships with the likes of Planet Organic, Selfridges, Tesco, Holland & Barrett, etc. I'm currently partnering with High Five, owned by ABF, to elevate their brand strategy. The second is my one-to-one business and NLP coaching. So it's designed for founders who know that scaling a brand isn't just about strategy, it's that mindset. Particularly with my time working with influencers and founders in particular, I think there's a way in which we need to kind of break through some of those limiting beliefs and rewire the way that you think. I think growth, particularly for founder-led brands, it isn't just tactical, it's a deeply personal and often spiritual journey when it comes to business. And third business, bit of a wild card, but I also offer personal branding strategies to professionals in the dental field. So a bit of a full circle moment, really. But enough about me. Let's really get into this celebrity versus influencer presentation. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be walking you through a few case studies during this session. And to kick things off, let's talk about my time at Müller. Now, while I was there, we ran several campaigns using celebrity partnerships to boost that brand awareness and reach new audiences. Take, for example, England footballer Declan Rice, who was a perfect fit for Müller Rice portfolio. He was credible, well-loved, and aligned with our target audience. When we launched our Australian-inspired 3-in-1 corner creation Scuderi, we collaborated with Strictly's Diane Buswell. Again, a great match for that light-hearted, culturally relevant campaign. And of course, we worked closely with our Olympic brand ambassadors to emphasize the health credentials of the range and give the brand added credibility. But there were other big names like Nicole Scherzinger and Naomi Campbell, who, whilst are amazing star players, and yes, but I suppose there's that big question about, did those campaigns always connect the consumer in a meaningful way? Because here's a real question: celebrity and influencer marketing, it's everywhere, but is it always effective? Excuse me. Now, before we dive any deeper, I want to quickly define something just so we're all on the same page. And that is the difference between celebrity and an influencer. Now, for the purpose of this presentation, let's keep it simple. A celebrity is someone who's gained mainstream recognition through traditional media. Think TV, film, music, or the press. They're household names and often known beyond just one platform. An influencer, on the other hand, has built their audience online, primarily through social media. Their power comes from relatability, consistency, and the direct connection they have with their followers, who actively seek out their content, updates, and recommendations. Two very different types of influence, and as we'll see, they play very different roles in marketing. So let's take Ricky Gervais. Yes, the comedian you're probably familiar with, but for the next 20 minutes, let's consider Ricky Gervais, the co-owner of Dutch Barn Vodka, a product made at Ellis Farm Distillery. Now, you're probably wondering two things. One, what is Ellis Farm Distillery and what is Dutch Barn Vodka? Again, just a little quick bit of context, if you like. Let me introduce you to the brand. So Ellis Farm Distillery is based in York, produces a range of spirits, including flavoured liqueurs, gins, whiskey, and the hero product, Dutch Barn Vodka. Now, unlike most vodkas, Dutch Barn Vodka is crafted from apples and distilled an impressive 70 times. For context, popular brands like Smirnoff are distilled just 3 times. So that extra distillation that Dutch Barn Vodka has, it results in an exceptionally smooth and crisp taste. Dutch Barn as a brand is more than just vodka. It's a very disruptive brand with a rebellious, bold voice. Their mission, to redefine what true premium vodka should taste like and challenge the industry's standards. While many vodkas rely on mixes to cover up their flaws, Dutch Barn is so refined that we actually tell our consumers to just have it straight over ice. The liquid doesn't need to hide behind anything. Now, I can probably already hear what you're thinking, why does any of this matter? And to clarify, no, I'm not trying to sell you Dutch Barn. I don't work there anymore. But the context is important because the brand is aiming to disrupt the vodka industry. It's shaking up what is already on the shelves. And they're doing it with the power of a big celebrity name. Excuse me. Even though Ricky Gervais is the face of the brand, I was honestly surprised by what I discovered when I joined the brand. That being, despite our key selling points, like the fact that the vodka is made from apples and distilled 70 times, the USPs were not widely known or appreciated by consumers, yet we continued to push forward. Even with significant investment in social media campaigns, the sales remained low. And despite Ricky's global fame, our social media efforts alone were not converting into sales, which, particularly as a marketeer, knowing we've got a big name like Ricky Gervais to back the brand, none of it made sense. It was really, really shocking. But if anything, this experience really drives home on an important lesson. Relying solely on social media, even with a high-profile celebrity, does not guarantee success. We posted a lot of content on both the Dutch Barn Vodka Instagram and Ricky's personal channel.
Hi, I'm Ricky Gervais, and this is...
Carried away with marketing. I mean, after all, Ricky's your creative director. What else can you expect? So I'm going to now hand over to the team. I just want to show you a quick video just to show you some of the video series that we had posted.
Hi. I'm Ricky Gervais, and this is Dutch Barn Vodka. It's a premium quality spirit made from British apples, so it tastes great, and it's friendly to the environment. I tell you to love this, Einstein. He'd be like, oh, E equals MC, or sip squared. In all seriousness, alcohol isn't good for clear thinking at all. It's a neurotoxin that can disrupt communications in the brain. It also affects the function of brain cells, and that can lead to intellectual impairment, if anything. So, Dutch Barn.
Now, there were some even more out there videos, but for the sake of not offending anyone, I will spare you those. They are on our Instagram if you want to have a look. But look, we invested heavily in social media, and although the engagement was strong, people were commenting, liking, sharing those videos, the ads just weren't driving significant sales. So what was the issue? Well, social media audiences are often quite passive. Sure, they might engage with the content, but that doesn't always translate into purchases. the platforms, especially Instagram and TikTok, whilst yes, are trying to kind of create the TikTok shop and encouraging people to purchase, they're primarily designed for users to scroll, not necessarily encourage to the same degree that Amazon would to buy. For a startup brand in particular, especially one backed by a celebrity, it's easy to assume that big names will guarantee success, but it just didn't work that way. In fact, it ended up filtering our audience quite a bit. We hadn't properly considered the differences between Ricky's followers and the actual target audience we needed to reach for the brand. So it's important to ask, just because there's a celebrity attached and people are liking the videos, well, does that mean they're alcohol consumers? Are they the right target demographic? Are they the type of person who buys online? Are they even liking the post because it's Ricky or because they actually bought the product? There were so many questions which we just couldn't get the answers to. The list of considerations just went on, and we hadn't considered any of those. So one of the key advantages, however, of using social media for Dutch Barn Vodka was the opportunity to experiment and see what worked. So we ran a number of different video campaigns, all similar to the one you just watched. But again, the results were underwhelming. With little traction from the influencer strategy, we decided it was time to pivot and take the brand offline to drive sales. So we turned to TV and out-of-home advertising, think billboards, buses, and digital screens, to make a stronger impact. I'll now play the revamped TV advert, which includes our brand colours, messaging, and brand world.
Hi, I'm Rick. Research shows that using a dog in your advert makes people more interested in your product. So there's the dog, there's the product. Dutch Barn. What is it? Yeah. It's what, made from British apples? You are joking. Dutch Barn Vodka. Really? Why so expensive?
TV advertising provides a level of mass exposure and credibility that social media, even with a celebrity like Ricky Gervais, often cannot replicate. Once we switched our focus to TV, the connection between airing the ad and an increase of sales was clear. Our approach was pretty simple, to be honest. Like, Ricky Gervais was speaking directly to the audience in his signature style. He introduced Dutch Barn in a very unfiltered and unpolished, no frills way, making it feel like a bit like user generated content. It was authentic, straightforward approach, which really cut through the noise and made a lasting impression. In the ad, as you saw, Ricky directly addressed the viewers, telling them exactly what Dutch Barn Vodka is and why they should give it a try. The call to action was clear and to the point. This is the product, buy it. So why did this work? Why did TV in particular work over social campaigns? Well, and this is something that I'm not really sure how to articulate, but you could say that Ricky, being the celebrity he is, was in situ versus the social media posts, which were just clogging up his feed. The authenticity of the message paired with its simplicity really resonated with viewers, unlike the overly produced ads which more and more people are seeing and creating for their brands. This one felt real and relatable, and it created that trust with the audience. So the results, well, within weeks, we saw a marked increase in sales, website traffic, and brand awareness. The TV campaign provided the broad exposure and credibility that social media simply couldn't offer. Emotional connection drives consumer action. That's why storytelling is so powerful. It's not just about showcasing the product, it's about the feelings it evokes in the audience. Simplicity over complexity is something that I will continuously keep shouting about. Consumers are constantly bombarded with ads, so a clear and simple message that will cut through the noise is far better than something overcomplicated. The success of our TV ad came down to its straightforward and relatable approach. Similarly, repetition and consistency is so important. Repeated exposure across multiple platforms helps reinforce your message. Consistency in how you communicate builds trust and makes your brand feel familiar to the audience. So what did we learn from this experiment? Well, while Ricky Gervais's endorsement certainly added credibility to the brand, it did not guarantee direct sales. Celebrities in general can lend a certain weight to a brand, but influencers are better suited for targeting specific niches. So the key takeaway is don't rely solely on one or the other. It's all about strategically using each to achieve different goals. Take, for example, Grace Beverley. Now, while Dutch Barn Vodka tried to rely on celebrity endorsements, Grace Beverley started as an influencer, but her success isn't just from her social media following, it's from creating that community. Grace took people on a journey, sharing her wins, but also her struggles, and it invited her audience to be part of the process. This sense of community is something that influencers like Grace excel at. They don't just broadcast content, they foster a space where their followers feel connected, involved, and invested in the brand. Grace's success teaches us that community is the key to long-term growth. She didn't focus solely on pushing products to her followers like we did with Ricky. Instead, she built relationships and engaged with them in an authentic way. Her audience doesn't just buy from her, but they support her brand, her journey, and are true advocates of the brand. That is something very, very difficult to create now, because again, you've got so many influencers and so many people trying to get you to try and purchase more products. So community really is the one thing that I think influencers have that unique advantage over celebrities. I think celebrities, like I said, give you that brand credibility, but they often can't create that same level of engagement or long-term relationships. For influencers, it's about building a loyal community that's invested in the story and the mission. Grace's strategy focused on being authentic and transparent with her audience. She involved them in the process, which helped her create a loyal community. Whereas, like I said, Dutch Barn Vodka relied heavily on the celebrity appeal of Ricky Gervais, but that didn't focus enough. We didn't build that personal connection with the audience, and that's something that's very difficult to do. I think the narrative of how more and more celebrities now losing their touch really comes to mind. I think influencers are a bit more relatable to a degree than celebrities, and I think that's why their content on social media in particular resonates so much more than celebrity-backed brands. Dutch Barn Vodka struggled to convert engagement into sales. In contrast, Grace's community-focused approach has helped her scale to a multi-seven-figure business. She built relationships with her followers, which drove sales, brand loyalty, and ultimately the brand success. So the key takeaway is to build the best of both worlds. Celebrities can provide credibility and awareness, but it's influencers who can help you build that deep, lasting relationship with your audience. So don't rely solely on one single strategy. Whether it's social media influencers or celebrities, it's so important to adapt your approach based on your goals and resources. The combination of both can lead to a scalable, sustainable business, just like Grace Beverley's success. By investing in both credibility and engagement, your brand can reach new heights. So what does this mean for you? Whether you're in B2B or B2C marketing, first, not all influence is created equally. While celebrities might bring attention, influencers can bring connection. Use celebrities for broad awareness if credibility is your main goal. But if you're looking to build a loyal customer base or community, lean into influencers, especially those who speak directly to your audience's pain points or aspirations. Secondly, look beyond follower count. It's not about who shouts the loudest, it's about who connects the deepest. Ricky Gervais has got millions of followers, but it didn't convert. Micro-influencers, brand advocates, and even passionate customers might offer more ROI than a single celebrity endorsement. And finally, build before you sell. Grace didn't launch her business by pushing products. She brought her audience along for the ride. That's the kind of long-term play that builds real brand loyalty. In fact, at Dutch Barn Vodka, we were listed in retailers before we had even aligned on the brand positioning. And this put a lot of stress on sales because one, no one knew about the brand because we weren't clear on the brand tone of voice or messaging. And two, the campaigns we had weren't enticing consumers enough to purchase. They were just fun to watch and weren't really converting. Another big takeaway, community is your most valuable asset, whether you're marketing software or spirit. People buy from people. If your audience sees your value, your journey, your process, they become more than buyers, they become believers. And then there's consistency. If you're in B2B, that means your messaging should be just as sharp in a white paper as it should be on social. In B2C, your TikToks and your packaging should feel like they come from the same universe. Let's also not dismiss traditional media. If Dutch Barn Vodka taught us anything, it's that mass awareness and brand credibility still come from the channels we sometimes forget. TV, billboards, regional radio, they're not dead. They're just underused by brands who think digital is everything. Blend your approach. The most successful brands aren't picking between influencer or celebrity or digital or traditional. They're asking what mix gets us the results we want. Then they test relentlessly, not just once, but continuously, because trends shift, audiences evolve, and what worked last week alone, let alone like last year, might not be relevant right now. So the key takeaway is stay fluid, stay curious, use the data, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to switch gears. We didn't have a huge budget when it came to going onto TV because we were still a startup brand, but we took that risk because we knew socials isn't working for Ricky, maybe TV will. So whether you're building a niche B2B audience or trying to scale a mass market B2C brand, success lies in your ability to evolve. So what's the real difference? Influencers bring the power of connection, their audiences trust them, engage with them regularly, and often feel like part of a community. That connection drives action, especially over time. Celebrities, on the other hand, offer mass visibility and authority. They're brilliant for awareness, but often struggle to build the same emotional rapport with consumers, especially when they're not involved day to day. The smartest brands use a mix. Lean on celebrity presence to grab attention, but invest in influencer partnerships and community to build that long-term trust and advocacy. That is the sweet spot. So whether you're working in-house or at an agency or building something of your own, my hope is that this gives you a new way to think about influence, storytelling, brand growth, and community. So if any of this has resonated and you're looking for someone to help you navigate your next bold move, whether it's repositioning, campaign strategy, or just bringing more clarity to your message, feel free to connect. I work across brand and marketing strategy, coaching for founders, and even personal branding, because at the end of the day, it's all about connection and community. So thank you so much for having me. And Simon, I'll now pass back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Avneet. Really, really interesting. The key bit I've taken from that is the blended approach. There just isn't one channel necessarily that will get you everything. So everybody, Avneet has finished her session. Please start submitting some questions, and then I will do the Q&A with Avneet. But while you're submitting those questions and giving you time to bring them in, I thought I'd just show you a little bit about the Spotler product, or the Spotler social engage tool, that allows you to do similar pieces around advocacy. So in the B2B world, getting your employees to syndicate that content, to share that content to their network, because it's normally the employees that have the connections over the likes of LinkedIn rather than your corporate profiles. And obviously from the B2C side of getting the advocates, the brand ambassadors, the celebrities or influencers, as Avneet mentioned, again, you can syndicate that content to them, ready for them to share it. So therefore it's keeping that brand of voice, it's keeping that consistency. Whether you're creating posts, choosing the channels that it goes on to, and then syndicating that content, whether that's to your corporate pages, or as I say here to advocates, you can pick them and then you can send it out. As the ambassador, for example, you'll get the notification saying you've got a suggested post, and then you can send it out. There's also an inbox that if you're starting to get communication or replies and so forth, hopefully, as Avneet said, it will be direct sales in the e-commerce market, demos booked, pricing requests and so forth in the B2B world, but there might be individual responses, DMs that are coming in from the individual inboxes. You can also see your content calendar, so you can see what's coming out and what's been sent and what's coming up. So from a social point, that's a really hopefully interesting part, but also we're bringing in AI as well. Not also over social, what you didn't see on there was being able to automatically write for different audiences. So you write one copy and then you say, actually, can you put this into context for this industry or for this particular tone of voice? We're also using AI to bring in prediction on segments of who who your high value customers are. So you should send them different journeys, but pretends to which segment they fall into. And that can be done automatically in the e-commerce world. You can target those customers over those social channels based on their propensity to buy, or whether what they have bought. Obviously, coming back to make more money or save more money, depending on what channels you're using. Obviously, lookalike audiences for your top 10% of customer lifecycle value profiles. Again, you can do similar things. In the B2B world, you can have all that data coming into your CRM under digital activity, so you can start to send communications based on website visits, events booked, emails sent, clicked, X, Y, and Z. Stitch it all together, sending the right message to the right person at the right time, hopefully help them save money or make money. Hopefully that's given you a bit of flavour to Spotler as well. Avneet, we've got some questions on. So there's a very interesting one here I'll pick out, and there's no order to these. I'm going to do them as they came in. But Paul's asked, what specific TV channels did you use for the campaigns?
Yes, so we, like I said, we didn't have a huge budget, so we did consider like going for the big like players like Sky and ITV, so like main TV. We had to be very strategic with our money and actually went for CTV instead. We actually found that allowed us to niche down to connected TV. It allowed us to niche down.
What does that mean?
So CTV is, take for example, like BBC iPlayer.
Okay.
Doesn't play ads, so ITV iPlayer, like those ones where essentially it's like Netflix, but we have that advert. Yep. That allowed us to control, well, not control, but more look at the statistics behind it. So are the people who have got that account, how old are they? Where are they located? Are they near a store where we are listed? And we were able to really niche down from a more kind of stalkery way. My words have gone now, but we were able to kind of really look at, right, how close are they our target audience? Are they near a store? And also how, like, what other purchases have they made? I think we even looked at, I can't remember the brand. It's like Tesco Club Card, but it's another one where essentially you can see what other brands they have purchased with that credit card. So we were looking to purchase into them as well. But again, we had to be very strategic. So connected TV, it was with ITV, and also Sky Sports online player as well.
Okay, cool. With that question comes the one that I knew would come up. When you say you had a small budget, are you able to give us a ballpark on what, with obviously people will have seen those adverts, like you would imagine, but what does that cost? What would a marketer be looking at to do something similar?
I can give you a ballpark purely because it's been a while since we did all this. It was between 650 and 800,000 is what we're looking at, and that aired for 6 weeks.
And how did it? So again, they all seem to be linking in. So obviously that spend for that was separate to the social media campaigns as such. So how did you, I'm assuming within that 6 week period, that's when I've got a question here around return on investment or tracking metrics, because interestingly you mentioned the campaigns initially were getting engaged with but weren't leading to sales. So I imagine your main metric is the revenue, the bottom line, if that makes sense.
Yes. And because when we were looking at like Instagram and things, it was difficult, although we had a different like URL link to again track how many people were going into his bio or even Dutch Barn's bio to kind of purchase or anything. It was, again, people clicking onto it, but the funnel was just really, really thin at the bottom. Particularly the engagement, we knew, I think on one of the videos, about 10.7 million people had seen the video. I think we'd made less than 1,000 sales. So it was really, really frustrating because we're like, we know people like what we're talking about. Why are they not buying it? And I think, again, it's because people like Ricky, but they might not like the product. And I think also on the flip side, which I hadn't touched on in my presentation, but you also have to be so careful with who you do collaborate with, because respectfully to Ricky, some retailers didn't want to list us because they didn't like Ricky and they didn't like how vocal he was. So actually it's not always an advantage to work with certain celebrities of a certain scale.
Brilliant. This one's a bit more kind of future looking. So where do you see the future of influencer and celebrity marketing in the next couple of years?
This is a very tricky one because I go back and forth. I think the rise of UGC has completely changed the ball game. I think particularly myself, when I'm on TikTok or Instagram, if I see ad or paid commission like the watermark on any of the videos, I would have swiped past. I'm not interested. But if it's a UGC, I'm almost drawn to saying, okay, well, tell me more, because it feels a bit more organic and authentic. And I think particularly the rise of community and people trying to there's like the Lizzie McGuire trend and everything. Everyone's trying to really play into the person-to-person play. I think that is going to be really, really interesting versus doing some of your very generic kind of like AI, here's our product, here's our brand messaging. I think it's about putting more people behind the brand and, again, getting people to buy into you versus just very unrelatable content.
This one's interesting, and it might be asking just spill some beans, but we've got some people asking how do you not necessarily the perception of it, but your management of what's the difference of managing an influencer versus a celebrity? Who are the divas is such I think they're trying to get to.
Okay, now you're asking for trouble.
Let's put it another way. Are there certain things that people should watch out for when they're managing celebrities versus influencers, or both, if that makes sense?
Okay, well, look, I will be very honest, and I think this doesn't surprise anyone, but when Ricky had creative direction, so we kind of had a few ideas, but it was really down to him to kind of write the script, and we would maybe just I suppose guide him from the marketing eyes that we had. So for example, just saying, look, we need to include the brand messaging, just make sure you say the brand name a few times, because I think sometimes someone who's not in marketing might forget those things. But he was very, very clear and always quite blinkered on this is what I want, because at the end of the day, he's the co-owner. So it's very different to working with an influencer, particularly when I was at Muller working on brand ambassadors. We were kind of coaching them and saying, look, when you go to your press conferences, this is what we need you to say about our product, almost giving them the script to then bring that to life in their tone of voice. I think celebrities, and this is excluding Ricky, but in general, from the conversations I've had with other colleagues who've worked with celebrities as well, is that they tend to go a bit rogue and kind of think that they have got the control, or don't need the control and can say whatever they want, whereas influencers are a lot more respectful. I think they're a bit more open to wanting to bring that brand to life. I think more so because their background in influencing has been to really understand the product, particularly think about makeup influencers, is about telling them these are the ingredients in it, this is the benefit, and they've kind of channeled all of their material, or not material, but their posts have been around content and communicating that for their community. And I think that background is really different from what celebrities do with just top level, because they get paid for it, whereas the influencers will only work with certain brands that they resonate with and that they want to talk about.
Interesting. I've got one here which someone said the two approaches that you took, did either of them in any way expand your audiences into new demographics at all, do you know?
The CTV definitely did, because again, whilst we could kind of look at the metrics to say, well, this is who our target audience will be, so therefore let's put it onto their account versus others. I think also it's that one person who owns the account might be watching with their family. And so you kind of now got new touch points, whereas if you're on social media, you're looking at that one user. It's very unlikely that they would share or have multiple people looking through as they're scrolling. So that definitely widened our audience.
Perfect. We've got a couple of questions around red flags with certain celebrities. I think you've covered that. There is one that I thought would come up soon on this, but someone's just put this one in. It's how are you seeing AI generated influencers or digital avatars coming into the future? I think there was a lot around, was it Bruce Willis and his being a digital or AI focused one, but are you seeing that more or used more?
I'm seeing a lot more interest in it. I haven't personally seen it being used a lot more. I think it's still kind of on its like kind of, I reckon, and I don't want to put numbers to it, but I reckon in the next 10 to 15 years, it's going to be the norm, which I don't like, because And I know that's quite a big statement to say I think it's going to be the norm, but that's more so because if you look at the rise of like AI in general, ChatGPT, everyone's using it now. And so I think it's almost a shortcut to creating content to get it out there so much faster. But I do think, and I struggle to articulate this because I do think you lose that relatability and the realisticness of content. I think we shouldn't just be going for AI all the time. I don't like it. I really like the UGC kind of content. I like how people bring it to life with their tone of voice, with their style of editing. If we think about like TikTok, for example, I don't know. I don't like it.
It might
but
even
I'm
go
also very interested in it.
I was going to say it might go a little bit like the you mentioned user generated content, but when somebody's being paid, it says, you know, this is paid for. It might be a bit, this is AI AI generated kind of thing, to a differentiator. The last one, let me just check. That is the majority of questions. The other one was just around resources. People are asking if you could recommend, apart from yourself, any books or any hubs where you would go to get an idea around brand marketing, influencer marketing. Any good reads that you've had recently?
I wish I had a list of all the ones that I've read. My mind's gone absolutely blank. But do you know what I like to do? And this is going to completely contradict what I just said. I like to use ChatGPT to say, here is like my brain dump of ideas. What would you do in this situation, to almost spark some more ideas and brainstorms? Or, for example, finding other influencers or celebrities that I didn't think were interested. Because again, ChatGPT can be like, oh, well, this person really likes alcohol, so we didn't know that celebrity drinks, so now let's kind of consider them, etc. I think that's a good starting point. But again, other books and podcasts, my mind's got absolute blank. What I will do, if that's okay, when you send out the presentation, I will send you the list of podcasts and books, and maybe we can tag that onto the back end of the slides.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Well, Avneet, thank you very much. That is the end of this session. Everybody on this session, hopefully you enjoyed that. You've got some useful information out of that. My key takeaway is definitely that balance of doing kind of multiple things rather than just putting all your eggs in one basket, or at least more than one thing. Avneet, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, and everybody else, you have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.